various use case studies have been done, saying when somebody is trying to read something in the night without disturbing his neighbors, he can actually point it on towards that. You pick it up, the moment you pick it up, the timer starts working. So you will know how long it is for you to understand the concept and how well it is for you to pace yourself. You need to pace yourself, all your thing, if you, whether you are in a marathon or you are in a sprint or you are in a, I do not know, various types of dashes. Coaches tell people how to have a strategy by which you can progress faster or farther, and fastest farthest wins. So we have this Lumi timer which have at this point, this one shows how you can illuminate a table. See, this is illuminating table, so you can see something there, and then this one is illuminating the page at the back which you need to, what do you call, have a look at it. And then we have something, these LEDs, function of the LEDs, and then so many interesting things. And some of the details, as I have already pointed out to you, examples like this, sockets, example like this and all that may or may not be yet ready. You understood? No, this is still at a concept level. So this whole product eventually was actually made and presented. So going back to my computer here, you will notice that this is starting with a sketch. Somebody finally had a 3D simulated object here. Please have a look at it, a little closer look. Very nice, isn't it? The magic is, this is done with a 3D solid modeling thing. I do not know, it's a solid edge at SolidWorks. Probably that object was taken to Maya or some other illustrator. They were added all the highlights, then they have added thing. The concept being, you take out the pen and the timer starts counting, and then you have various options here saying if you want to have cumulative time, or you just want, in case you want to take a break, you put it back into the ink pot like you would have an ordinary quill pen. And then you have flashing LEDs here. They give an indication saying, are you keeping track of the average time, or it's longer, or how it is, and so on. We can have them normally in seconds, then I do not know, probably it is programmable. Coming back, now maybe it makes sense to see how the stand looks like. You see here, you have a small depression here, the small depression, this thing curls up, you can fold it back and then it goes inside, but still kindly remember it is only a concept, may or may not be implementable. This is where designers make sense. You see here, we have a nice so we have somebody who is trying to read various things, and then probably it is one of the concepts I try to work around, saying can you have a ink pot which goes and sits like this. Now coming back, I have several examples. I have several examples of projects like this. The point I am trying to make is that upfront, before you start, you need to have some concept of what should be the target user of the thing. That has been the concept of what is called design thinking. Unlike earlier design, which already tries to improve on an existing thing, which is typically what an engineering design is. Now these days, having passed that stage of a simple engineering design, we have come to the stage of what is called design thinking. Design thinking starts with the user's experience. So you would have noticed in this what you call very illuminating luminaire, which will make you a luminary. The concept is this: a person who is preparing for an exam, person who likes reading, and the person who likes to keep track of time, all of them have been incorporated to this, as compared to what I feel is a very threatening thing. This timer is not useful for anybody. Actually, tomorrow I will try to show you what an egg timer is. This actually, I will say, no, I can't say I stole it. I saved it from the dustbin from, I did not know it was being discarded, because it was found that it is not very useful, and even if I wind it and then I try to keep it in 30 minutes, by the time it completes it is still jarring. It reminds me saying I want to hit it and go back to sleep, which is not the idea with that Lumina. So, I will now go through some more other slides which my students have prepared. This in the particular case, ignore the top what they have written on the top. This is about an audio level indicator which is typically used by people here, auditoriums, conference halls, classrooms. Quite often time is, there is a need to measure and indicate audio level of the speaker, is make sure that the speaker knows whether or not he is being heard. You will notice that if you go to a class and you happen to be one of those front benchers, there is no issue, because the teacher or the speaker keeps eye contact with you. You are just in the middle also, there is no problem. As you go towards the back, two issues happen. One is, by definition you are a backbencher, and all the successful people are probably backbenchers. I am not very successful because I was a front bencher all the time. If I were a backbencher, probably I will be teaching you how to make a billion, though I have started as this thing. So, you see, the moment the people go to the back of an auditorium or anything, if the speaker were to ask them, sir, can you hear me? They can't hear what he is saying, neither can he hear their response. So, there is a genuinely no feedback. It is going to a class, you should have heard this joke a long time. All the children who are not present can kindly lift their hands. It does not make sense, is it? No, they are not present, so obviously they can't lift hands. Saying all the people who have not, the other way also, who are present to lift their hands also does not show much about it. What the teacher wants is a proper, attendance taking thing. Now, going back to the slide here, make sure that the speaker knows whether or not he or she is being heard, which is a very, very important thing. Seen that, no? It is a purely important level, saying the teacher has to increase or decrease his level. Two issues come, saying even in case you have an amplifier, you should not saturate the amplifier. If you speak very loud, it gets saturated. If you lower your voice, while in normal speech what we do all the time is to catch their attention, depending on the ambient, we lower or increase our own voice, and then we try to pay attention, and our brain does all the processing. You are able to do a two-way conversation. But in the case of a lecture or there is a very funny word called a diatribe, it is one way. Difficult for anybody to understand what the other person wants. At this point, as a lecturer, I would like to see what is the level that is being heard at the back. Traditionally, this audio level things, we have the inline audio level indicator, and then we have the audio level interface is a stereo, bidirectional coupler, and so on, no? And so on and so on. So many of these speech or sound pressure level meters are available. Sound pressure level meter also looks a little like a handheld portable device, and then you go somewhere and measure the thing. This is more used in a statutory atmosphere to see whether you are disturbing your neighbors, or in the case of calibrating, first time you calibrate an auditorium or anything, in our case the studio, you probably use that meter. This studio has been calibrated to make sure that we do not have echoes, we do not have dead spots. We also have what is called a small presence or a signature to make people feel that they are not speaking to a dead full dead room like that. Unlike in a regular recording studio, they want everything to be flat, meaning as much as possible no reflection should be there. Then the echo machine adds all the echoes. Similarly, usually you have maybe multiple sources, including boundary mics, including close mics, and including instrument feeds, and somebody does the mixing. But in the case of an auditorium, you cannot have all that. During the calibration or setup, all this is required. But once the speaker wants to speak, very rarely they even have a collar mic. And then even collar mics have a small, not all collar mics, but because fortunately it is done here, the moment I turn around and then I would like to show something on the screen. Already two things have happened. One is I have lost contact with the audience. Another is this may or may not pick up those things. So various things have been built, including a microphone device, and including something which is has a mic up there trying to pick it up and all that. So now getting back to my slide, if the microphone is separated from the display, then the product can be used in emergency situations. For instance, in a hospital, a microphone can be placed near the patient's bed, display device can be put in the doctor's cabin. This is a little like the baby alarms which we talk about. So inside, in this case, because this particular presentation was made by them for the electronics class, they are trying to show how it works here. So we have here some device here which has so many, which have 10 LEDs, and then all the 10 LEDs have been stuck here, and in the case you see 3 LEDs are on here, and then the whole thing is run by a small battery, and then you have an input. You can do what you want with it. So we have here, before the product has been thought of, they have talked about saying there is a button which needs to be pressed and kept in that position while measuring the audio level. So you need to hold it in the hand and it will keep showing. The center of this is a small knob which needs to be adjusted by the user according to the range up to which he is interested in measuring, according to the range up to which he is interested in measuring. So if it were an auditorium, probably let us say if it has around 20 seats, very rarely the last 1 or 2 seats can be actually useful. Let us say we would like to see 80% of the depth. So at 80% of the depth you need to probably increase the sensitivity a little or decrease the sensitivity so that we can hear. At the top is an array of LEDs. If you look at the LEDs, we can see the position. Battery which is used is of a low quality due to which the performance deteriorates. Therefore, we have to replace it with higher quality batteries. In the case, what they said is that usual small 9-volt cell which is used in projects did not measure it. This is the after making the thing. Sensitivity is high, which means LEDs start to glow and saturate for small values. When we reduce the gain through the knob, the device goes from bar mode to dot mode. The components used, they have included, and finally you see lot of, they worked a lot and then came out with saying, can we have a device which probably has elements from various other things they see around. We have an inspiration which is I do not know, maybe a carving, somewhere a carving is going on. The other extreme we have this very rectangular or a boxy box, harsh, boxy box is harsh, but the advantage of a boxy container like this, or a rectangular container is things are flat, it can be stacked, and you have some control on the total volume by increasing only one of the places. If you increase the height, obviously you can stack more, or if you increase the width, you can add another display board here, or in that case increase the PCB size and so on. And then you probably need to have only one point where you can add the battery separately. Battery can be separate, or in this case we can probably carry some 5-volt supply like this, plug it in and then try to use it. So these elements, mind you, this particular device was made in 2005. That is a long time back, 12 years back when the project was active. Now coming back to my presentation, these students start about, I do not know what it wanted, probably they wanted to say there is a control which comes from all sides, and then there is an auditorium here, and then there is a volume, and then you have this sound from all the sides. Because this lecture does not talk about any of these particular cues what they use all the time, eventually the whole thing has been made into a product like this. See here, it is real. It is really real. It is not a virtual real. It is real. This is the original virtual real concept, slightly modified. This is the reality real thing, which is done by rapid prototyping. In this case, we have only an additive what you call fused filament depositing machine, in which the colors are not possible, and there is not sufficient time to finish the product. They have ended up in this beautiful thing. Now going back to my product, you will notice that you see here we have a range of what do you call LEDs, and then there is a color also saying somebody holds up this at the back of the auditorium, and the lecturer tries to talk louder and softer until he gets into this area, this orange to green area. Only this orange to green area is understood by all. Now we come to the next thing. What about the people in the front? Is he not screaming at them? So obviously that is not how it is. So the auditorium is made such that it can be heard at the back. Again, you see here in the actual implemented thing, a majority of them have been implemented, including the way this thing can be split, so that you can change the battery, and then there is a receiver here. If in this case what they mean a receiver is, it could be a simple microphone, it could be an omnidirectional microphone, a little like a simulation of what the human ear can receive. So we have a beautiful object. Luckily it is just a student exercise, but anybody wants can always go ahead and try to think on these lines. The more you think on these lines, the chances are you will also come out with it. There is a small, except a small thing here, no, this switch, because of the physical limitations they could not implement a switch which we want, and then plus we needed the tactile feedback also. So they have found out this switch, which is actually it was implemented and it was measured, and I feel we have used this thing. Now I will go on to the next. This is a beautiful concept which I liked, because we had asked the children, I am sorry, the participants to our course, saying you come out with a situation which probably needs an urgent service. One of them was, you are working in a computer or doing some experiment in a lab, and assume you have to leave the work area for some reason, that someone else comes along and starts using your work setup, which will lead the interruption of your work. Two things can happen. It is possible in industries or offices where resources like computers and other equipment are shared. The so called personal computer is not that as personal as we think. So in case you have some simulation running or anything, you need to go somewhere and run your program. So chances are it will get often the one who disturbs the work is unaware that you are using the thing, and then do not disturb warning is a seamless, but people hardly notice it. You have an issue with it. A better solution can be made to, there is a problem here which needs to be solved. Here when somebody comes near the work setup, to make him aware that that setup is being actively used and not to be interrupted. It's here important thing. So eventually most of us now in the new office situation, we end up with cubicles. Even if you carry your own laptop to your work, we all work in a cubicle. Cubicle has some very positive thing. One of them is saying that you are reasonably isolated from the disturbances around. Similarly, you do not disturb others. But the thing is, one small problem about it is when you are not in the cubicle and something is running, there are always nosy people around. They would like to see what is going on there. Not intentionally, it is not that they are looking at NSFW content on the thing, because that the you can't stop people from doing it and somebody else is monitoring. And just people are just curious like this. Now the thing is, this particular this thing was made to exactly give an indication of, in case this is left around on a table, voice as well as visual notification, someone comes near, it can store 3 voice messages or 2 are pre-installed, each of a duration of 50 seconds, sensing 2 to 3 meters. User has 3 programmable output levels. Duration of working, you have 30 minutes, 2 hours in working on, this also is programmable. It will be powered from a 9-volt battery or from the USB using a simple connected to a PC. You have seen here all the elements which were highlighted in the problem. One of is the proximity. Other is give an indication to the person saying inadvertently he is looking at a thing which he was not supposed to and then never operate it at all. And thirdly, also create a racket all around, so others will be able to make a word. So we have the beautiful concept here. Have a look at it. I will just time myself for the next 30 seconds. Somewhat clear. I will just remove the distracting strokes I have made. You will see here this particular thing has a very peculiarly round shape. So overall it is very compact and it is easy to carry wherever you want, and some other elements what we have here, there is some input here, I do not know what it is, probably a battery charging circuit, and then we have several LEDs, and most important here is we have the proximity sensor here, the pyrotechnic infrared sensor, loosely called the passive infrared. The advantage of this sensor is we can, any moving warm object it will be able to sense. So you just need to lift it up and keep it in case you want the entrance to your cubicle to be done, or keep it flat so that if somebody bends over and tries to read your monitor, we will know that they are up to no good. This makes it very interesting compared to the earlier pictures which I have shown, which are taken from sources which you can also locate on the net. We have made use of all those things and finally made this. This is our my own students' work, and then I think needless to say that we would like to keep the copyright with us. So kindly do not copy it. In the unlikely case, you can maybe read it and acknowledge it, but kindly do not try to make it into a product. There is nothing very great about it. If you think about it yourself, you will probably come out with a better thing. The core of it is at the bottom, we have a battery cover. You have seen this? Then the whole shell has been divided into 2 parts. Now if you take a little closer look, you will notice that the main body has nice smooth edges which are normally spill proof. Imagine you have my USB coffee cup on the other thing, and then you also have this, and then you spill coffee. You take coffee and then spill it on your timer. That is a problem, is it not? We said you are also having your that Lumi timer also on your table, because you are trying to prepare something, you are preparing for an online exam. So you have all that, and then if the whole thing falls on this, you are in a soup. So we have here a beautiful smooth surface here. Instead of making it very exotic like the other things, they have made such that this is easily, you can maintain it easily. You just need to take a cloth and wipe it. And then very important thing is the sensor itself now is mounted on a hinged movable part. So we have a beautiful device by which something comes, there is a pin here, and then this is what they call PIR sensor goes inside. PIR sensor itself is a PCB, and then one beautiful what you call nicely almost rectangular PCB with the corners shipped off. In the end, whatever you say, it is relatively easy to make. Then you have a place for various things. We have a beautiful thing here including a microphone. Wonder what a microphone is doing there. Probably it hears sounds, and then you have a speaker also. That speaker gives out horrible noises to make sure that others of course that video is not streamable, so I am not able to hear, but actually you can hear if you come close to it and do everything, it will start making a very loud sound. So this is, I feel, a beautiful product. You have a monitor, then you are inside a cubicle, and then you just leave it, and then on the desktop you already have your Lumi device, which allows you to time yourself. I have a beautiful, why not, that Lumi was a standalone device. In this case, this is a normal pen. You have seen this, no? The thing. Why can't we have, now these days, now that Bluetooth and stuff has come, we can have this probably attached, saying we now pick it up and then the timer starts, have a look at a timer. Similarly, we can do something such that in case you are having an online exam, this online, it will also keep the time. If for PowerPoint you have small routines that are available, which will show you how to go through these things. Next time, probably I think this is enough for a day that you will get saturated. Next time I will show you lot of these other things. I have so many. I have a multi LED thing, I have a what is called a lazy switch, then I have a gas meter and so on. So I will stop here. Thank you for the interest you have shown, and then I suggest it is about time you start working on a concept. First exercise was learn a little bit of sketching, how you will learn sketching. Second exercise is make a cardboard model, take anything, it is like a cake box. And then for making a cardboard model, I suggested that you take a multimeter which is there in your on your lab or what you can get, and then usually the front can be probably downloaded from the internet from another multimeter. You just need to cut it and then stick it on top. But the issue is, in the end, that the multimeter should look a little like a multimeter. It shouldn't look like some what you call stickers put on top of some box we have. It is for you to give confidence. So the pictures I have shown were already students have gone through these exercises for around 3 months. Towards the end of it they have produced. They are not the first day that they have produced it, but it is for you to get inspired, saying I take as many views of this as possible. So thank you for today. I will stop. I will get back to an equally important thing next time, which is about little bit about fabrication and how do you go about. In case your electronics is somewhat ready or you are going to buy a few PCBs, how to put them all into an enclosure and make it more reliable. So thank you.